This might be the last video about Poppy Playtime since we're about to enter a whole new era for this channel, but let's not get ahead of ourselves just yet. For now, let's talk about what could be the biggest reveal in Chapter 5 and also go over a few updates regarding the possible release date of what's likely the final chapter. We'll talk about the main location, the big bad antagonist, figure out where Poppy ran off to and why, discuss the chances of Kissy Missy surviving, and of course, the legendary return of Huggy Wuggy and his goals in Chapter 5. And that's just a small part of what we're going to dive into today. Plus, we'll talk about the length and the expected release date for the new and maybe final Chapter 5. The first time I started thinking about those secret labs where they did all the experiments on the orphans and Playtime employees as the main location for the new chapter was during a conversation with Poppy. She straight up said that it's the prototype's lair, and all the orphans, who technically haven't been involved in serious experiments, are being kept there. And I thought it'd be cool to explore a new part of Playtime Co. in Chapter 4. But after a series of events in Chapter 4, I was totally convinced that the new chapter is going to be all about the labs. The final nail in the coffin was the last VHS tape in one of the most legendary scenes in the Poppy Playtime saga.
Hi, my name is Leif Pierre, and I'm the head of innovation here at Playtime Co. If you're seeing this, you must be very, very lost. Well, rest assured, friend, our state-of-the-art laboratory is just up ahead. Why don't you just go on inside and tap one of our scientists on the shoulder? Tell them you're lost. They'll be glad to help. All right. Let's be honest. You're not supposed to be here. This is the single most high-security, high-clearance section of the whole factory. When someone finds you down here, you will be shot. And before you get any ideas, don't think you can just sneak away either. No, the second you put this tape in, it set off an alarm. So if anyone's home, they know exactly where you are. Pretty nifty, huh? Security is very important to us here. If I were you, I'd start running.
And if you think about it for a sec, it becomes super obvious that Chapter 5 could be the chapter that fully dives us into the rest of Playtime. And no matter what anyone says, it's probably gonna wrap up this long and crazy story. Also, now that we definitely know the main location for the new chapter, the labs, and as Poppy told us, the labs are where the prototype hangs out, it makes you wonder, are we finally gonna see the prototype, or are they gonna hide him again? I'm gonna say this straight up. I'm totally sure Chapter 5 will reveal him fully, and there's a bunch of clues pointing to that. We've been teased with him in the past chapters, and the first so-called appearance of him in Chapter 4 revealed the silhouette of that monster. But the biggest red flag was that conversation between Poppy and that damn Ollie, who seemed like a positive character in Chapter 3, but turns out he was actually...
Ollie! Something's gone horribly wrong. The safe haven...
Shelf ventilation block B6. Is this where you are, Poppy?
What?
Stay where you are.
And listen closely. You're not going to run. You're not going to fight. The charade is over.
Who is this?
An obvious question with an obvious answer.
You. What did you do with Ollie?
I'm right here, Poppy.
For you,
I'll always
be here. I admit, though, I'm disappointed.
After all that time in your case, I'd hoped you'd see things
Differently, don't you understand?
It's always been about you.
And we'll harm you. What we are. That's not a truth that can be burnt away. No, not when it can mean so much more.
Prototype. Please.
It's time to come home.
Poppy.
It's time to come home.
And so we smoothly move on to the next part of the video. Poppy ran off, leaving us alone with Kissy. Gonna be real with you, I don't know where Poppy ran to. The Playtime factory is way too huge. One thing we know for sure, she didn't run to the prototype. The reasons for her running make a lot of sense, actually. We already know she's escaped once before from the people who needed her.
Poppy was nice. I can't find Poppy anywhere. I don't know what happened or where she went. But it's scary here without her. Maybe she ran.
This time, things got even worse. Imagine yourself in Poppy's shoes. You've been living in lies and false hope the whole time, and your main mission suddenly became almost impossible in a split second. Poppy just freaked out. Most likely, she's hiding somewhere nearby, and I'm pretty sure she's gonna come back to us in Chapter 5. Whether she'll be alone or bring someone new along remains a mystery, but that could definitely happen. The size of the place and the timing helped Poppy avoid the horrible fate that her, let's say, friend met.
Some friend, huh?
Don't worry, I'll find her.
As for you two, try to land on your feet.
I've noticed a lot of fans are starting to worry about Kissy, but let's break this down a bit more and figure out if our favorite Kissy Missy will be coming back in Chapter 5. Thanks to Kissy, we didn't get blown into a million pieces, just seconds before the explosion. She managed to save not only her life, we can clearly see that she survived the blast, but she also saved ours. But of course, that would have been too easy for Mob Entertainment. So they decided to add some extra drama. And as a result, Kissy lost that arm she got messed up in the incident in Chapter 3.
What's she doing? No! We're coming! Just hold on! Come on, go faster! Yes!
What also caught my attention was a moment in the conversation between Poppy and the prototype.
Let me tell you what comes next.
I'm going to
Come up there.
and I'm going to
Find you.
We can clearly hear footsteps and see Poppy and Kissy freaking out. And the big question is, who's this mysterious stranger? I've got two theories, and neither of them are great, but if it's the prototype, then we can pretty much say goodbye to Kissy Missy. But there's also the second theory. It could be Huggy Wuggy, and that's a lot more interesting. Even though his appearance was predicted before the release, seeing him in his full form sparked a ton of emotions from most fans. Everyone knows that in Chapter 1, Huggy Wuggy was the antagonist, but there's a theory that everything could change in Chapter 5. What if the footsteps we heard actually belonged to Huggy? What if, after our fall, Kissy and Huggy met, and Kissy managed to convince him to join us? Or maybe he got fed up with the prototype and decided to help us take him down. Or maybe it was Poppy who met him after her escape and talked him into it. Honestly, there are so many possibilities, but I'm super curious to hear your theories. I personally lean towards Kissy, convincing Huggy to join our side. But even if that's not the case, it doesn't change the fact that even though Huggy might look like a bit of a dumb monster, he's actually a pretty smart and calculating creature. And even if he's against us, that doesn't mean he'll just go back to the prototype. Especially considering how the prototype doesn't exactly like it when his pawns fail him, which we saw clearly in the catnap scene. Most likely, Huggy will be a third party, making moves purely for his own survival, and he honestly couldn't care less about our lives or the prototypes. And on top of that, we all know where Poppy Playtime started. Of course, I'm talking about the mysterious properties of the poppy flower. And since we've already figured out that the Prototypes Labs will be the main location in the new chapter, and these flowers were growing right in front of the lab entrance, it's obvious that we're also going to get the answers to what I'd call the big mystery of the Playtime universe. I won't even repeat myself about how we're definitely going to see the prototype, but after some updates on the runtime and release date for the new chapter, we'll talk about one character who might actually return, even after, let's say, their death. I've explained over and over why I'm 100% sure that Chapter 5 is gonna be the final one in the Poppy Playtime saga. And based on that, I can confidently say this game is gonna blow us away with its scale. So if Chapter 1 took around 20 minutes, Chapter 2 was about 50 minutes, and Chapter 3 took roughly 1.5 hours to complete, Chapter 4 completely flipped our idea of Poppy Playtime's runtime. It took us over 3.5 hours just to get from the descent scene to the meeting with Huggy. All of this goes to show that with each new chapter, the runtime keeps growing, and I'm more than sure that Chapter 5, especially with all the hints that it's going to be the final one, will be at least 5.5 to 6 hours long, which is obviously a win for us as fans of this universe. Now, as for the release date, that's a bit more straightforward. We definitely shouldn't expect the new chapter by the end of January 2026, and I think the devs have learned their lesson by now. Considering all the negativity in the first week due to the terrible gameplay and the fact that it took over a month and 6 patches to get the game in perfect shape, we can safely say that we won't be seeing Chapter 5 any earlier than April-May 2026, especially with its expected runtime. Of course, we're going to see a new antagonist, and judging by the leaks we've got right now, it's going to be some kind of clown, but we've already talked about that. But for now, let's take a moment to remember Doughy, who in just this past month has become a legend in the Poppy Playtime universe. A lot of people are seriously talking about the possibility of him returning in Chapter 5, and this topic really caught my attention. So I decided to dive deep into this theory, and in the end, I'll answer the big question: will Doughy the Doman return in Chapter 5? In one of the missions, we saw that Doughy is terrified of the cold, which totally makes sense considering what he's made of. And it was that very same cold that let us stop him and, well, save our own skin.
You and Poppy! It's all your fault! I'm going to kill you! Kill everyone who hurts me! Can't trust anyone! The gentle voices lie! You lie! I'm trying to be better, to be who they needed. Not smart enough. Not good enough! Not...
But right off the bat, something felt kinda off. Like, did we really take down an almost immortal monster that easily? I mean, not only can he squeeze through literally any opening, but he's also crazy strong. You probably figured that out yourself just by watching how effortlessly he tore Pianosaurus into pieces. And let's be real, it'd be way too simple if a big boy like that just died at the hands of the player just cause he got hit with some cold and a press. Sure, those are solid reasons, but even right before his so-called death, we literally saw him still talking, which means he was very much alive. On top of that, we all know that kinda extreme cold ain't gonna last forever. Sooner or later, Doughy's gonna thaw out. And since we never actually saw his frozen body shatter into pieces, there's a good chance that once he thaws, he'll just keep going like nothing happened. And that's where things get really interesting. We all remember exactly who Doughy blames for what happened to Safe Haven.
You. It all started with you. You and her. It was you who It's not true. They jump-started the generator. They destroyed everything! I'll kill you!
But over time, we figured out that all that rage and negativity were really just coming from one test subject, Kevin. Meanwhile, Jack and Matthew still had a pretty positive attitude toward us. It's easy to say that even if Doughy did survive, that's only going to make things worse for us. Our last moments with him were, well, not exactly friendly. But there's still one thing Doughy hates even more than us, and he straight up told us about it in the play zone.
This was once a work yard, you know. A dozen of us, maybe two, would be here at any given time. They had us work. Whatever they wanted us to do, we'd do it. And for those of us who couldn't or wouldn't, at night, when no one important was watching, they'd take them. Take them in here. We only got food for one of you. They'd say, which of you will it be? They watch up there. It was usually over within minutes. And the guards, they'd be hysterical. Nobody died. No, because then people would know. But the next day and every day after, they would work. Oh yeah, hard as they could. And they'd never cause trouble again.
And besides all those who made him suffer, mainly the scientists and guards, there were even some experiments Doughy might hate more than us and Poppy. The events of Hour of Joy messed with every monster, no matter which side they ended up on. Everyone remembers what Poppy said, that the first days after that damn hour were pure hell, and the main reason for that was hunger. Even when we first met Doughy, he straight up mentioned it. And once all the meat was gone, every toy had to start fighting to survive, including those in Safe Haven. And from what I gathered from one of the tapes, some of the Safe Haven residents were the ones constantly finding food. That same tape also dropped one very interesting detail.
You're okay. Okay. Look at me. I'm a mess.
Poppy, what's going on?
We were trying to bring supplies back up to the elevator, but we got jumped. Had to turn all the way back around. They took everything we had. Right after one of them picked my leg.
How is he, Doc?
Not too bad. He'll live.
See?
Keep it clean. Could get infected otherwise.
So, what do we do now?
The prototype, or at least one of his goons, was constantly hunting down the good monsters, and not only stealing their food, but straight up trying to kill them whenever possible. So of course, Doughy hated the one responsible for all of this, the prototype. Now, if Doughy did survive the events of Chapter 4, he's got a huge problem ahead of him. He's left with only 3 choices. Keep chasing us down and trying to kill us, except that we're not actually the bad guys, and switch to our side, or go full-on loner and turn against everyone. And considering there's like a 95% chance that Chapter 5 will be the final game, the idea of Doughy joining us and actually helping us out again seems like the most logical outcome. Now let's take a step back and remember why Doughy was so against Poppy's plan to destroy Playtime Factory in the first place.
The toys out there in Safe Haven. They're my family. I understand what Poppy wants, what she believes is right. Destroy the factory, destroy him. But I ask you to consider, if we throw everything away, everyone, just to kill the prototype, how much do we waste? I know the others might believe it's right, that we should bury everything, but let's just think about it.
And as hard as it is to accept, Safe Haven is gone. That means everyone Doughy loved and protected is dead, all because of the prototype. And since Safe Haven was the only thing really holding him back, now there's nothing stopping him from wiping out everything that reminds him of those horrific events. Considering just how insanely powerful Doughy is, his help in either fighting the prototype or pulling off Poppy's one and only plan would be huge. But Doughy himself has pointed out more than once that the plan to blow up the Foundation and eventually the entire Playtime Co. facility is insanely dangerous for everyone. So now, the big question is, how does Doughy go from a crazed, murderous maniac hellbent on killing us to a hero we'll never forget? And that's where a certain recorded conversation between Jack's parents and Doughy comes into play.
Who are you?
Jack? Honey, it's me. It's Mommy.
Mommy?
Yes. Yes! It's Mommy and Daddy. You remember, don't you?
Leave me alone.
Hey, you'll be okay, I promise. Mommy's only here to talk.
No, I don't want to talk. Get out!
Susan, I think we should leave.
Jackie, I'm staying right here. I'm not leaving you. Not ever again. Do you hear me?
The gentle voices lie. I know what they do. They lie, and they poke, and they hurt. Susan, get away from me!
Jack? Mommy won't lie to you, Jackie. Mommy won't hurt you. I'd never hurt you.
Hey, open this door! Oh, God. Susan! Please, open the door!
We all get that Doughy is a lost and broken monster, completely unable to trust anyone because each of his personalities is living its own life. And that horrifying moment when he transforms into that salamander-like nightmare, yeah, that perfectly illustrates just how torn apart he really is. Since Doughy has literally lost everything that ever mattered to him, I've got a strong feeling that he will be the one to plant the bombs and blow up the Foundation while we keep the prototype distracted. And chances are, when Playtime Co. finally goes up in flames, Doughy will go down with it, sacrificing himself for us and forever being remembered as a true hero. But hey, what do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm hyped to hear them.